Well, new satellite images over China are sparking concern, with pictures revealing the country's efforts to build up anti-carrier capabilities. Well, the images show Beijing's military has built mock-ups in the shape of a US Navy aircraft carrier and other American warships, possibly as training targets. Now, this all coming as tensions with Washington remain high over Taiwan and the South China Sea. Satellite images also showing a 6-metre wide rail system with a target mounted on it, which experts say could be used to simulate a moving vessel. All right, let's bring in now Dr. Malcolm Davis, who's a senior analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, joining us there from Sydney. Dr. Davis, thanks for coming on. Tell me, how worried should we be about this, given that Beijing is denying knowing anything about it, but it's pretty clear that something is going down here?
Yes, they are denying it, but obviously everyone knows that these mock-ups are there, and the Chinese are testing what's known as anti-ship ballistic missiles, or ASBMs, on these targets. And the purpose of these tests is to develop these missiles to be able to destroy US Navy aircraft carriers and allied ships out at sea at long range, and I think that the Chinese are definitely seeking to achieve a military advantage here in any future conflict over Taiwan.
Yeah, for sure. It's highly concerning. And tell me, what is the latest on this situation with Taiwan and China as it stands, Dr. Davis?
I think that the concern, certainly within the Australian strategic policy community here, I'm actually in Canberra, not Sydney, but also across the region, is that there is a growing risk of major power war between China and the United States over Taiwan in the second half of this decade. Certainly, Xi fully intends to try against the wishes of the Taiwanese people. I might add, most of the Taiwanese people do not want to unify with China, but Xi wants to do this certainly probably by the second half of this decade. And the concern is that this will lead to an outright military conflict with grave possibilities for escalation, both in terms of the geographical spread of that conflict, but also potentially in terms of escalating through the nuclear threshold.
So in your opinion, has the global community, the international community, been sort of neglecting keeping an eye on China, with so many other big stories really capturing the attention of the world? Has China been sort of going on with all of this in more of a clandestine type of way?
Look, I think we've been aware that China's been building up its military capabilities for some years. I do think we have switched our focus away from, for example, the war on terrorism that has occupied much of the international attention since the events of 9/11. We've switched our focus away from that to quite correctly focus on the growing challenge of major power war, particularly with China, but also with Russia. And I think we're now starting to change and adapt our military capabilities and our force structures to prepare for that possibility. So the US is making this switch. Most other Indo-Pacific states are making this switch. And I would argue that in Europe you're seeing the same thing happen with NATO. So there is this change in recognition that the threat environment has evolved, and we have to be prepared for that major power threat out into the future.
Is there anything at all that can be done to sort of put the brakes on China?
I think the best thing that we can do is to try and deter China from taking actions against Taiwan or in the South China Sea. The best way to do that is by establishing multinational groups of states that can work together. Most recently, this has happened with AUKUS between the UK, US and Australia. But also the Quad is really important in terms of bringing in India and Japan. If we have that multilateral grouping of states in the Indo-Pacific that are prepared to stand firm against China, they may be deterred. But if they're not deterred, if they do take actions in the second half of this decade, then we have to be prepared to fight and defend our interests in the Indo-Pacific. And that includes Taiwan, it includes the South China Sea, and various different other regions in the Indo-Pacific area. And so, sometimes you do have to defend your interests against an aggressive power.
China's military has built replicas of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier and other U.S. warships in an effort to possibly ramp up its military capability against Washington. Satellite images by Maxa have pointed out these mock-up warships in the deserts of Xinjiang province. The satellite images depict targets in the shape of a U.S. aircraft carrier and guided missile destroyers at a new testing facility in Xinjiang's Taklamakan Desert. Both types of vessels are deployed by the U.S. 7th Fleet, which patrols the Western Pacific, including the waters around Taiwan. China's anti-ship missile programs are overseen by the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force. These recent developments accurately depict the Chinese People's Liberation Army's concern of the US's growing influence in the region. Despite a recent improvement in bilateral ties, the difference of opinion over Taiwan has remained a key point of conflict between the two countries. Pentagon has raised concern that China is expanding its nuclear arsenal in the region more rapidly than ever before. According to the Pentagon's latest annual report, the Chinese military conducted its first confirmed live fire launch into the South China Sea in July 2020, firing anti-ship ballistic missiles into the waters north of the Spratly Islands, where China has territorial disputes with Taiwan and other Southeast Asian countries.
Shalom, give all praise to Yahweh Shemi Yahshua Bashim Rakakadash, double honors to the elders and apostles for the edification and knowledge. The word of Yahweh Shemi Yahshua for putting edification, putting in the spirit of the elders and apostles so we become edified regarding this truth and knowledge. Call Yahweh Shemi Yahshua Bashim Rakakadash, give all praise to Yahweh Shemi Yahshua Bashim Rakakadash. That was relating to a few articles, Wyon, and other video relating to Chinese mock-up to counter U.S. naval ships, aircraft carriers specifically. Blow ye trumpet. We'll go to Joel 2. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for is nigh at hand. So that's a warning for the Lord's coming, man. A day of darkness and gloominess. Put that with Amos 5:16-20, man. For it's not it's going to be a day not of light but very dark. A day of darkness and of gloominess. A day of clouds and thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There had not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even the years of many generations. A fire devour before them, and behind them a flame burneth. Ultimately, it is missiles. And the land is as Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is like the appearance of horses, as a horseman. So shall they run. Horses represent power. And this was really a description of relating to the ranks of those missiles. Like the noise of the chariots on the top of the mountain shall leap, like the noise of a flame of a fire that devour the stubble, as a strong people set in the battle array. Before their faces the people shall be much pain, and all faces shall gather blackness. So it's going to be mourning and wailing and gnashing of teeth in pain. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march every one on his way, and they shall not break their ranks. And that's how these missiles are going to be. They're not going to break their ranks. They're going to hit their target as designed. Neither shall one thrust another, and they shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up the houses. They shall enter into the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. Heaven shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark like sackcloth, and the stars will draw on their shining, and they're going to fall. The constellations fall. The earth be moving to and fro like a drunkard. The earth shall quake before them, the heaven shall tremble, and the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, and the Lord shall utter his voice before his army. For his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. The day of the Lord is great and very terrible day. It's not a day of light, but of dark, very dark. Let's go to Joel real quick, number 3 through 9. Because these nations' tensions are building up between these nations, man. China, U.S., China, its allies, U.S. and its allies, come upon one another. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. So they preparing. These men are preparing for war, man. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, agricultural material. It's pruning hooks, spears. Let the weak say I'm strong. So these nations that were not as strong from a nuclear capability, now they are. So they saying we're no longer weak, man. But we becoming stronger. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, gather yourselves together round about, and thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be awakened and come up in the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yehoshaphat, which is the land he has judged. For there will I sit to judge the heathen round about. So the Lord's going to execute judgment upon them. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fast overflowing, for their wickedness is great. So they ripe for judgment. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And I'll just finish it up. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of his people Israel, being redeeming that remnant, the elect. So shall ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, your holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through any more. And it shall come to pass in that day the mountains represent power, shall drop dew down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with water, and the fountains shall come forth out of the house of the Lord, and shall water of the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be desolate. Egypt, modern day Egypt, be what? Babylon. Edom, that's the ones in power, man. The carnal counterparts in power. The wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. The things they have done to the Lord's people, man. But Judah shall dwell in there forever, and Jerusalem for the generation to generation. And I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. So they're going to be reestablished, be redeemed, man. Go back into what they were promised, man. On earth. Go to I want to get some scriptures relating to nuclear war. For every battle of the warriors confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. In ancient times, they fought in a gladiatic type mode set, man. You know, with swords battles and swords and what they pretty much what they fought, how they fought in the ancient times. The confused noise, and the garments rolled in blood, because they're pretty much getting down with the swords and fighting one another. And so they will shed much blood upon one another, their adversary. But this shall be with burning fuel of fire. And the next one is related to, and that shall be with burning fuel and fire. That relates to the missiles. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and the garments rolled in blood. That's how they fought in the ancient times, man. Hand-to-hand combat, with weapons in their hands, taking on one another. But this shall be the burning and fuel and fire. So that's nuclear missiles. Go to for behold, the Lord will come with fire and with chariots. The Lord's going to come with fire. With them chariots are part of that fire as well. But the ultimate fire is the missiles. Like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and rebuke with the flames of fire. Because them chariots going to be hitting fire too as well. For by fire and by his sword with the Lord will plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. But more are going to perish than be what? Saved. So the slain of the Lord is going to be very, very many. Now, I don't know if Christians know this. World War III is in the Bible, man. But they don't teach that. They don't teach that. This is the real bitter of the Bible, man. They don't teach these kind of things in the churches, man, because especially regarding prophecy, because it's not really something politically correct they want to teach their congregation. And many other reasons. That's another lesson itself. I'll give you an example of some scriptures. And it shall be a plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. Their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouths. That's by nuclear missiles, man. Nuclear missiles are going to have that capability to do that, man. For example, of that Terminator 1. With Sarah Connor having that dream that she's leaning against the fence and seeing that nuclear fallout. And seeing all the fumes of radiation pretty much melt and burn the people away, man. So that's a good example of that. And except those days shall be shortened, there should no flesh to be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. They're going to have to be shortened because the Lord is going to come, because, Shalakia, the enemy's going to come in great wrath, man. Because he knows he has a short time. He's going to come like that flood. Isaiah 59 and 19. He's going to be like that roaring lion, whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5 and 8, man. So the Lord has to intervene. So it's going to have to be a form of spiritual intervention. Otherwise, there will be no flesh to be saved. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. For many people, it's going to come like a thief because many people are not expecting the Lord to come back, man. Just like Peter's 2 Peter 3 and 4 said, where's the promise of his coming, man? I guess the fathers have fallen asleep. And pretty much things continue as on. So many people, the last thing most people expect is the Lord to come back, man. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. That great noise is the missiles, man. The elements shall melt with fervent heat. That fervent heat, hot enough to melt, that's the radiation. The earth also in the works that are therein shall be burned up. So everything that radiation comes in path with is going to melt and burn up. Seeing then that all these things shall dissolve, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, and looking in for and hastening in the coming of the day of Yahweh, which the spirit of the brothers, that's the spirit therein, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall be melt with fervent heat, that's the missiles. Nevertheless, we according to his promise look for the new heavens and the new earth, wherein dwell righteousness which is on earth. The new heaven and the new earth, they're going to be on earth, and righteousness, the next kingdom. Go to Isaiah 24, 19 and 20. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean, dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. So the earth is moved, broken down, moved exceedingly to and fro. Is shaken by ultimately what? The missiles, man. And the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgressions thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And that's the ultimate judgment on Babylon, man. For the heavy judgment is going to be upon it. It's going to fall and not rise again, and no one's going to inhabit it ever again. Revelations 8, 10 and 11. The third angel shouted, and there fell a great star from heaven. And that star ultimately is that missile falling down, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of water. That's wormwood. That's radiation. That's contamination. And the name of the star is called wormwood. And another name for wormwood would be absinthe, which is pretty much that green stuff. The name of the star is called wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood. So they became contaminated. They became where you can't drink it. And many men died of the water because they were bitter. So it's poison, man. If you drink it, you get killed, man. If you can drink it. If the radiation itself will kill you before you can even get the taste of the water, man. But that means radiation, means contamination. Let's go to Revelations 9 and 12. One woe is past, World War I, and behold, there come two woes more after. That's World War II and III. This is Revelations 9 and 12. Hold on. One more, Revelations 11 and 14. This is Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, which is World War II. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that's World War III, and that's what's to come. This is actual scriptural. This is Revelations 11 and 14. And these nations are building up ultimately to build up for that. The tensions between China, U.S., Taiwan, India, Iran, Israel, all these nations, man. Put that with Ezekiel 38, man. Magog and Gog and their allies versus U.S., Israel, and its allies. That's Ezekiel 38, man. So that's what we're seeing, man. We're seeing the build up to ultimately for this. Scripturally speaking, these things will come to pass. And this being said, this is something short. I hope it helps whoever listens. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yashai, Bashim Rakakadash's brother Zayab, means Wolf. I hope it helps in some way, whoever listens. Shalom, thanks.